When Ethan Brooks heard the sound of breaking glass, it was 2:47 a.m., and he was alone in his dark, sparsely furnished apartment. His heart skipped a beat. His left hand instinctively moved towards his nightstand, reaching for his Glock. He wasn't sure what had woken him, the glass breaking or the eerie feeling that someone had been watching him even before that. Years of working with Interpol's covert operations team had taught him to trust his instincts, and tonight, his instincts were screaming. Slowly, he got out of bed, eyes adjusting to the shadows in his room, every nerve in his body alert. He moved cautiously, rolling his feet along the hardwood to avoid creaking sounds as he approached the source of the noise. Through the door crack, he could see the vague outline of his shattered kitchen window and hear the faint sounds of movement. Two figures dressed in black were in his living room. Their features were masked, but the way they moved spoke volumes. They were trained. Special ops level, maybe even elite mercenaries. The fact that they were here, in his apartment in Paris, meant one thing: someone wanted him dead. Ethan couldn't afford to hesitate. Without another thought, he raised his Glock and took aim. A single muffled shot cracked through the silence as he squeezed the trigger. One of the figures dropped to the floor. The second intruder turned, but Ethan's shot was faster, and the man crumpled before he could retaliate. He didn't waste time investigating who they were. Instead, he scanned the room for anything they might have planted, any device or evidence left behind. But as he swept his gaze across the room, a shimmer caught his eye. There, on his table, was a sleek black envelope with an embossed symbol, a circle bisected by a lightning bolt. The insignia of the Black Lotus, a notorious shadow organization that had operated in the criminal underworld for decades. An organization he thought had been dismantled years ago. The implications hit him like a punch to the gut. Ethan remembered the last time he encountered them, in a mission that had nearly cost him his life. He'd been sent to recover sensitive intelligence on a biochemical weapon the group was rumored to have developed. Although he'd escaped with his life, the mission had ended in chaos, and Interpol's task force had suffered heavy casualties. The Black Lotus was no ordinary criminal syndicate, it operated with high-level support and military precision. Why would they want him now? And how had they even found him? He was officially dead, or at least that's what his files said. After the incident in Bolivia 2 years prior, Interpol had given him a new identity, wiping his records clean and placing him on permanent leave. Only a select few knew he was still alive. The envelope lay like a viper on his table, daring him to open it. He picked it up, feeling its surprising weight. Inside was a single sheet of paper, and when he unfolded it, his eyes fell on a short, chilling message: "Our past mistake will soon be corrected. Come to Rome if you want answers." He didn't need to think twice. The last time the Black Lotus had left a message like this, he'd lost 2 close friends. Rome, then. He'd be ready. The next evening, Ethan arrived in Rome, blending seamlessly into the bustling crowds that swarmed the city's ancient streets. The note had given no address, no meeting spot, just a city. But he knew they'd find him. He was barely 2 blocks from the Colosseum when he noticed a woman, tall and striking, following him from a distance. She kept her pace casual, but her gaze was intense. There was no mistaking her, she moved with the trained subtlety of an agent. Ethan ducked into a narrow alley and waited. Within seconds, she rounded the corner. He had his gun out, pressing it to her ribs before she could react. "Who sent you?" he whispered harshly, keeping his voice low. "The same people you're here to find," she replied without flinching, her voice steady. "But I'm not here to kill you." She pulled a crumpled envelope from her pocket and handed it to him. Keeping his eyes on her, he opened it. Inside was a single photograph, a grainy image of a small, glass vial with a green liquid inside. Beneath the photo was a simple instruction: find the vial, or the world dies. His mind raced. The Black Lotus's biochemical weapon. He thought it had been a myth, an exaggeration to keep people fearful. But if this photo was real, it meant the weapon was not only real but operational. The woman cleared her throat, her tone softening. "My name is Sophia Romano. I work with Interpol. I was undercover with Black Lotus for 2 years. They're going to use the vial, Ethan. This time, they're ready." "How do you know they won't just kill us both?" "They would have killed me if I hadn't escaped with this," she whispered, revealing a small data drive. "Everything I know is on here. They're going to release it in 3 days. We need to get this to Interpol, now." Ethan felt a chill sweep over him. "Where's the vial?" She hesitated. "Vienna. The headquarters of a pharmaceutical front company, Biocure. They plan to release it through their distribution network, infecting millions within days. Their mission was clear: intercept the weapon before the Black Lotus could unleash it." The next day, they were on a private flight to Vienna. Ethan tried not to let his thoughts drift to what would happen if they failed. The implications were terrifying. Sophia's intel indicated that the weaponized virus could trigger a mass pandemic with a nearly 100% fatality rate. If released, humanity itself would hang in the balance. As their plane landed in Vienna, the sense of urgency became overwhelming. They had a narrow window of opportunity, and Biocure's headquarters was as fortified as a military base. They rented a car and drove in silence, each lost in thoughts about what lay ahead. The plan was deceptively simple: they would infiltrate the Biocure building under the guise of employees and locate the vial. That night, dressed in the stolen uniforms of Biocure lab technicians, they slipped into the building. Every step through the sterile corridors made Ethan's heart pound faster. The facility was eerily quiet, with surveillance cameras rotating mechanically above them, reminding them they were on borrowed time. Finally, they reached the lab. Through the glass walls, they saw it, the vial, resting inside a containment unit. They were close, but before Ethan could reach the containment unit, a voice echoed over the intercom. "Well done, Ethan. I see your instincts haven't dulled." The voice was smooth and chillingly familiar: Lucian Keller, head of the Black Lotus. "But did you really think I'd leave my prize unguarded?" As the last word left his lips, the room flooded with armed guards. Ethan and Sophia pressed their backs against each other, outnumbered but resolute. "Any last words?" Keller taunted over the intercom, clearly savoring his supposed victory. But Ethan had one last trick. He pulled a small, cylindrical device from his pocket and threw it toward the guards. A bright flash and a deafening bang disoriented them, buying him and Sophia the few seconds they needed. They leapt toward the vial, securing it and racing toward the exit as alarms blared throughout the facility. But their escape wouldn't be that easy. Keller's men pursued them relentlessly through the corridors, gunfire echoing through the building. They fought back, but ammunition was running low, and they could hear footsteps closing in. Outside, they sprinted for the car, every step feeling heavier as Keller's men gained ground. Finally, they reached the vehicle and sped away, Keller's guards close behind in pursuit. With the Biocure vial secured, they hurtled toward the airport. Just when they thought they might have escaped, one of Keller's SUVs rammed their car. Ethan struggled to keep control, veering toward the airport entrance. Sophia clutched the vial tightly, her knuckles white. Then, in a final desperate move, they managed to shake the last SUV just as they reached the terminal. They boarded a departing plane, the vial safely tucked away. Only once they were airborne did the magnitude of what they had achieved settle in. They had saved millions, and although the threat of the Black Lotus still loomed, they had dealt them a significant blow. As the sun rose, Ethan leaned back, allowing himself a rare moment of relief. But he knew better than anyone that in his line of work, peace was always temporary.